This is a very large tuber of yam. It weighs about 5 kg. Many people don't believe that it is possible to harvest very large tubers of yam from the sack or bags. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, because not only is it possible to harvest large tubers like this or even more from sacks, but it is also reproducible. It will interest you to know that I have even harvested a tuber of yam that weighs over 7 kg. I want you to know that it is very, very possible, and these are my 10 top secrets that I've used and have worked so well for me. Why not sit back as we go on this journey together? Number 1, choose an average size or large size bag that you are going to use, because you need to harvest yams that are large size. So you also need to get bags that are large size. I'll just give you some few examples. Now, these are some of the bags. I like to use this golden penny bag because it is very, very long and also very big. It can contain a lot of soil. Another very good one is this bag for beans. This beans bag is about 100 kg bag. So if you need to grow large size tubers, you need to actually use large bags. And one thing you must understand, that the bag should be breathable, which means they should allow air to flow all around. Like this bag is a breathable bag. Even if they are not breathable, what you do is to try as much as possible to perforate. You can perforate the sides. I'll show us more how we can do the perforations. My number 2 secret is to perforate my bag that I'm going to use. Now, when I say perforate, I mean to perforate the bottom of the bag that you are going to use to grow the yam. This might be surprising to a lot of people. Now, let me just tell you some secrets involved in the growth of yam. Yams will always grow downwards in length, and it will increase sideways in size. But I want you to understand that the secret of getting very large tuber is to create an avenue for the yam to grow beyond the bag. For example, this is my bag that I'm going to use. I have perforated the end such that when I put it in the place where I want the bag to stay, and I load it, and I load my soil in, once the yam gets to the end, there will be no barrier. It just grows out of this place and grow into the ground. So this is one of the secrets that many people don't know. You might be saying, but how am I going to carry the soil to where? Just take the bag to where you want it to be, load your soil and let it be there. Because usually when you have already loaded your bag, there is no need to be moving it anywhere. That's one. You perforate the end. The way I do my perforation, I could perforate the middle third or half of the bag so that I'll leave the other side without perforating. So I'm not just going to loosen the whole bottom of the bag. That is one. This one will enable your yam to grow out. Another thing you should do is that around the base of your bag, you try as much as, this is a breathable bag, I don't necessarily need that. If you don't have a breathable bag or bags that they are not easily perforated, you just perforate this last part of the bag. You perforate them such that you can have holes all around. The reason for that is the roots of the yam, they are coming down there, and because they are coming down there, they need to have an opportunity to exit the bag and enter the soil that is beneath them. We are going to talk about the soil beneath them later. So that is why it is important you perforate your bags and at the base part. It is also important to perforate the sides of the bag. The reason is because there is a concept called air pruning. Air pruning is the concept where the roots, when they come in contact with air, that contact induces the formation of tiny root hairs around that major root, and that will enable the plant to be able to absorb more nutrient and more, so it becomes more hairy. So the concept of air pruning is the more reason why you should also perforate your bag at the side, because when that is done, it means that the yam is going to be getting more nutrients and more water to grow large. For some of you, you might be wondering, but I'm going to plant on a concrete floor. I don't have soil that is beneath where I'm putting my bags. I'm putting my bags on concrete. So how am I going to now perforate, and how is the yam going to now come out? Well, I got you covered. Now I've given us a modification. I've presented a modification. Now that modification is this. Look at what I've done here. Assuming this is your concrete floor, you cannot go further. You can actually create that artificial environment for your yam to extend beyond your bag. How? You can just get blocks or even boards or planks like this to create an elevation. Now creating the elevation means you now have the height of this, your board. It could be higher than this. You can even use stuff like old tanks that you have cut like this. You can even use old bathtubs, whichever one that is available to you. And what you do is create the environment. So what I'm going to now do here is to, if I have this on my concrete floor, is to fill here with whatever I want to fill. For me, I like filling with leaves, then manure, compost, and then soil. So you take it up to this level so that it will now be high. Your concrete is still down, but things for your nutrients and all that, they are already here. So what you do is to now carry your bags and arrange them here. You just arrange them like that. If it is 20 yams you want, 50 yams, and you can arrange them on the platform that you have created. So your yams can still grow and then enter the soil and do. My number 3 secret is to till my soil or walk the soil that I'm going to lay the bags on. That is very, very important. You know, let me tell you, forget. What you should not forget is you are going to grow yams, though inside the bag. Whatever is happening outside the bag, especially underneath the bag, is very, very important, because the roots of the yam, they will definitely get there. Even if you are preventing them from going there, they will definitely still get there. So that is why sometimes yams that you plant on heap, they grow very, very large, because they have opportunity of the root extending whichever. So you are going to simulate that scenario so that you have it and maximize it in your yam in bag. So what I do, I normally till my soil. I work them very well to be very soft, not hard, such that when I now lay my bags and water comes in there and all that, it can be softened for the yam that is going to grow outside the bag to extend in. You must work your soil. And apart from working your soil, there are some other things you will do. Feed that soil. You should feed the soil underneath the bag. How do I feed the soil, you might ask? You can get poultry droppings, pig droppings, cow dung, and use them to just work the soil in. Then you can get banana leaves, all forms of leaves, compost. Arrange them underneath, because they will form a basis and reservoir for nutrient before you now lay. I use quite a lot of stuff. This one is this is just poultry dropping, something like this. I will just do something like this around the area where I'm going to put my bags. I'll just walk them. So you can see that the secret of growing large tubers begin from even before you plant the yam. So I work all these. You can see they are very soft now, so I arrange them well so that I can sit my bag. Even if you are doing it on concrete floor, remember what I've told you earlier on. The same thing you will do here. All right, so I can as well take dry banana leaves. I can just put them here. They will just form a basis for me to now lay my bags on. So that way, the roots that grow out, they will enter the soil and they will begin to get nutrient in order to feed the plant and grow a large tuber inside the bag. My number 4 secret is to use rich soil inside my bag. We have uploaded a video before about the right content. Use rich soil inside your bag. Now, apart from using rich soil, there is this point where many people make a lot of mistakes. The soil that you are going to put inside your bag should be obstruction free. Sometimes when you tell your workers to load your bag, they can just load bags with stones, bottles, and all that. And of course, you know, yam has a way of growing. It penetrates. It doesn't need any obstruction at all. So in order to achieve that, make sure the soil that you are putting in, apart from it being rich, has the capacity to hold water. I normally like a blend of loamy soil and laterite. Then you should make sure that it has no obstacles, stones and all that. To ensure that is to use filter. Use a filter. You can go to where they get where they sell building materials. This is the one I like using. I like using this. So this is a filter where that the builders used to sieve. You know, it's just like a sieve. You just put it, sieve, and all the good soil that are fine, they will just go out, separate them. You remove the stones. You must ensure that, because what you put into your bag is what you are going to achieve at the end. It's like garbage in, garbage out. So your soil should be fertile. It should be free of stones and all that. Some people normally mix compost, and it's a good thing. You can mix compost and your soil. So far, the organic content is not so much in order for the yam not to get rotten. So that's very key. Good soil, fertile soil, water holding capacity should be excellent, and then it should. My number 5 point is to create space for expansion of the tuber inside the bag. You know, we have earlier talked about creating space outside the bag by letting it extend beyond. But in width, for it to be able to expand, it needs space within the bag. You know, when you fill your bag with soil, the rate of expansion, and because of the perimeter limitation of the bag, it does not allow for such kind of expansion, unlike what you have in the hip. So once there's an expansion, there's room to expand. But that expansion, you must simulate it inside the bag. And there are 3 ways I do that. Number 1, what I do is to fill a portion with soil and another portion with organic materials that have the ability to compress and expand. For example, I normally like using banana leaves. So what I do will be I'll just do this. I'll just fill. Before I fill, I'll probably get something like a PVC pipe. I'll just put it by the side where I would want to put my banana leaf or whatever I want to use. So I'll fill. So ideally I would have needed the help of someone else, but let's just see how it goes. This is just an example. Okay, now as I'm filling the space that this PVC is occupying, I'm going to do something with that later. Okay, so you can see as I'm filling the bag, I'm leaving a small space for whatever I want to put in here. This thing will help me with my expansion. For example, I could just take banana leaves and tuck them in here. Just tuck them down. So I'll just use this pipe to load down my leaf, to load them down. Just make sure that you have as much leaf to the level of, I'm sure many of you will be wondering, but this is a lot of work. But you see, the outcome is very, very reproducible and it's worth it. So I've done that now. What I will just do is to try as much as possible. So I'll remove my PVC. Removing my PVC, the leaves automatically fill the space. So you can now see that these leaves now, they have gone all the way from the bottom through to this place. With time, this leaf is going to decay and is going to shrink. Of course, it creates a space for expansion. This is number 1 way I do this. Instead of using leaves, I can use the same procedure where, of course, just imagine that I used the PVC just now, the way it was. We're still going to use the same bag as an illustration. I'll just use something else. Instead of using banana leaf, I can use peat. This peat is obtained from dead log of palm tree. Now the good thing about this is that it can absorb a lot of water and it can be compressed. So I'll just load them in here, just assume that this same PVC was like the other one we did just now. It's coming from the bag. I'll just do exactly what I did with the lid. I'll do it here too. Now this is one way you do this. You can as well just, before you fill the bag, you can use a board to partition. Fill a small portion bag with the pit or the leaves you want to, then the larger portion with your soil. Now the reason for all this we have just done is that with time, all these organic materials, they can compress, they can shrink, and that way you find the yam being able to expand. The yam can push them. If it were to be soil that was there, to be a little bit hard, the bag would be wanting to give it. But because this thing has ability to shrink and it has air spaces in there, the soil has room to expand and the yam has room to expand. This is what has been working for me. This third method of expanding or creating space within your bag will interest you. Now, not many persons know this. I have uploaded a video before now where there was a trunk of a bag that I have yam planted, and a lot of persons were asking questions and they were amazed. I want to explain what that means today. This is log. It's a dead trunk of banana. It's not a sucker, it's just a trunk. Now I've cut the one with the sizable diameter. Now rather than use PVC, which is artificial, I can also use this, which is organic, purely organic. Now what this is going to do for me is going to help me create space, number one. 2, it will help me with irrigation. And 3, it will serve as an organic manure. You know, this trunk has potential to absorb water, and it has a lot of water. Especially this core, it has a middle core. I've taken the liberty of removing part of the core. This is what it looks like, but I'm going to tell you the advantage of this later. So what I do with this, I'll just put it the same way I put my PVC inside my bag. But the difference is that this one will not be removed. So I'm going to load my bag with soil, and this one will remain in here. Now the advantage of that is that with time, it is going to decay and shrink. It is going to decay and shrink. But even before that time, this core decays faster. Once it decays, here becomes a hollow, the connection between the top and the down. So I can decide to be irrigating, especially during dry season. This is why I like to use banana trunk, to create space, to irrigate, and as an organic source of manure. Let me show you the one I've done before so that you understand. So guys, these are some of the old bags I have done with that stuff, with the sucker. This is the one I did before. You see that if you look around, this one I can even practically remove it. See, now manure and all that. So, but look at the space it has created. I didn't plant yam in here now because I wanted to plant yam, but I didn't have the time. So if there was yam here, this would have been a way for it to expand, because there is a hollow here. I can decide to remove this, load in compost or manure and all that. I can be pouring in water here. So you can see that it creates room for expansion. The same thing with this, because they definitely will shrink. This one there's yam in here now. I can practically remove this, you see. And if you look down, there'll be the roots, they will just be all around there. So you can just look at this. I can practically remove this one. See some of the roots now. They will go in, and this will serve as a water holding stuff for them. Another interesting thing about this, using these suckers that I like, you know, when we are applying fertilizer for yams in bags, it is usually very challenging. So what I normally do is this: I can just put my fertilizer, no matter the amount, I can just put a handful and put in here. It will not destroy the crop because there's a barrier between the manure, the fertilizer, and the root of the crop. The root of the crop will take time to even get there and take whatever it wants to take. So you can see that this helps me to create space. It's an organic manure. It can help as a barrier against artificial fertilizer and a whole lot of stuff. It can help me hold water during dry season for irrigation. So this is the more reason why I use dead banana trunk. So my number 6 secret is to plant healthy seed yams. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you plant a bad seed, you get bad harvest. But if you plant a good seed, you are going to get good harvest. What I normally like doing is to plant seeds that averages between 250 to 300 grams, or between maximum 350 grams in weight. And it should have broken dormancy. What that means is that you should see sprout. Dormancy period is the period between harvesting the yam and when it starts sprouting. Once it starts sprouting, it means it has broken dormancy. This is a particular type of seed yam, and this is another type of seed yam. We've already demonstrated how we get this. This is usually at no cost. So planting healthy seed yam is very, very key, and the weight should be enough and heavy enough, because this seed yam will assist the growth for the first 3 months, and so it will be depending on this for the first 3 months basically before it now start forming tuber. It will depend on, so the better this one is, the greater you have it. My number 7 point is the irrigation of your yams in bag. This is very vital. I want to emphasize here that yam in bag, they already have a disadvantage when it comes to getting water, and yam needs lots and lots of water to grow. As far as your bag is perforated, is breathable, is well drained, you need to irrigate even during the wet season. Now, a lot of persons feel because it is now raining, there is no need for me to irrigate. There might be need, and that is why it is good for you to constantly check. Now, let me tell you something. If you see the surface area for your bag, that is at best the amount of water that is going to be coming in. Because if any water falls in here, there is a possibility that it will not get in for some bags that are not even perforated, so to speak, although I will not advise you to use a bag that is not perforated. So you may have rain coming in, but inside your bag will still be very, very hard. So it's always better for you to always check and see if your bag is soft enough. Now, the reason why your irrigation is very, very key is because of the different stages of development. That first 2 months, that first 3 months of the germination and vegetative period is crucial because water is needed for the leaf to grow. More crucial is the stage of tuber formation, and that is where many people get it wrong. From the 3rd month all through to the 5th month, that is when the tuber forms. Now, your water is not just for nutrients for yam, it also for the growth and expansion for yam. That is why the soil in there must be very, very soft during that 3rd to 5th month for the tuber to actually expand. That is the critical time you really need irrigation. So from the end of the 1st month, that is at the beginning of germination, all through to the end of the 5th month, you need adequate amount of irrigation. Now, this is what I have to say about irrigation. Spend time to irrigate your bag such that you have the soil being soft, so that when you just check it, you can easily depress it. It means it is well soaked. Don't bother so much that, would the water not be too much? It will drain. And what I normally do, I irrigate very well, even during the rainy season. If I check the bag that is not well soaked, I irrigate very well, maybe once a week. If the weather is a little bit drier or you are in an environment that is dry, you do it like twice in a week. Now, still talking about this irrigation, there is one more point I must tell you. Remember that it is not just about inside your bag. Outside your bag also matters. What I do, I irrigate the side, any amount of water that I can, because these are the main places where the roots are. Any amount of water that the roots can get, fine. Another thing I do, which is very crucial, look at the base. That soil around your bag is very key. Many of the roots are there. So it is important you irrigate. After irrigating the bag, carry your hose or water container, pour water around that area. most of those roots that are inside the bag that you have created opportunity for, they are all there. When you wet them, they'll be able to take you. So don't forget that one of the secrets of getting large tuber, wet around the bag is very key. My number 8 secret is to use long sticks. I normally use long sticks. In fact, I would even advise, this one was something that I did some time ago, but me now, I will use a longer stick than this. My advice is usually between 12 to about 13 feet long. Let me tell you the secret about staking. Many people don't even stake when they are planting yams. Yams are climbers. The more they climb, the better their leaves are more exposed to the sun, they produce more food, and then they store in the tuber. So if you have small stake, the leaves will not be high enough to get enough sunlight. So it is important you stake with long bamboos, long sticks, so that you can maximize so one of the major secrets I have been using to get large tubers, it is long staking. Once you stake well, you can never get it wrong. So this is what I want you to be doing henceforth. There are ways to even reuse bamboos and elongate bamboos. I will show us in subsequent videos. So long staking is key to developing extra large tubers of yam. My number 9 point is application of fertilizers. Yes, we probably know that we need to apply fertilizers mainly in aliquots. Give them little by little because they are in bags and because of the way the roots are. But I've showed us earlier one of the ways I apply fertilizer. If I have my trunk in there, I can put the fertilizer that I want to put, and it will serve as a reservoir. That's one way. But my emphasis is not just on the fertilizer you are putting inside the bag, or maybe the ones you put around the base of the bag. My emphasis now is on feeding the leaves with fertilizer. And that's one of my secrets. I use foliar fertilizers a lot. When I use foliar fertilizer, I'm sure, even though my bag, they are getting nutrients, I've put my nutrients in my bag before, but the leaves have a way of also getting the nutrients. So you are feeding both from the leaves and in the bags. Why won't you get large tubers? So apply foliar fertilizer. When you are applying foliar fertilizer, you apply to as much leaf as possible. That is why it is even good you stake with very, very long stake. There are durations, usually every 2 weeks, especially when you understand the growth pattern. You know, the beginning of leaf formation, that foliar stage between the second all through to the 3rd month, you spray your fertilizers very well. During the tuber formation period, you spray every 2 weeks. So these are critical times that you must apply your foliar fertilizers. And I want you to understand that foliar fertilizers, in fact, is a goal when it comes to the issue of yams in bag. You cannot do without it, and you shouldn't do without it. My point number 10 is to make sure that all these stages are intact, which means you should be checking your crops and how they are doing. If there are competitors, you should remove them. If there are pests, you should notice them on time and eliminate them. If there are some that are not well irrigated, that is why you must also. My point number 10 is to always check your various points. I want you to know that apart from growing or getting large tubers from your bag, you can get beyond that. It's not just about large tuber. You can get both seed yams and even your large tuber from the same bag. In order for you to understand better what I'm talking about, watch this next video on your screen on how to get both the seed yams and even the large tuber from the same bag, which gives you extra advantage.